I am very excited to have my good friend Maureen Wallbeoff here with us today. I know, and we have done so many things virtually together. We did present, was it 19 NTC that we presented together?
Yeah.
And then we had another one on board for the Nonprofit Technology Conference this year with Nick Byrne of Give Panel. And obviously we couldn't do that in person, but we did do it virtually, which was really, really awesome. And I think we'll be doing so many more things together. But Maureen, I wanted to let you talk a little bit about yourself. Also, where you are, if you feel comfortable sharing that, and one thing you've been doing to keep sane during this whole crisis.
I wasn't expecting that question. Okay. So my name is Maureen Wallbeoff. I'm a nonprofit digital strategist and technology coach. I'm BFFs with lots of people that I see still faces on the screen right now. And so it's just been very wonderful to be invited here. I live on the Cape in Massachusetts, out on Cape Cod. I've been working alongside and inside nonprofit organizations for like more than 20 years, let's just say. It's getting up to a big number right now, so I'm going to zip it. And I help organizations deal with the problems and the frustrations and the snafus that they experience with their technology. So sometimes they haven't been trained. That's the problem that they need to fix. Sometimes they have no plan or no strategy, and so there's no direction for the team to actually use the technology properly. And sometimes they just need to move because it was a bad fit from the beginning or it's no longer a good fit. Yeah. So it's this lovely intersection of like plan, people, business processes, and platforms, because they all have to work together. Otherwise, you spin your wheels.
Yep, exactly.
Something I'm doing to keep myself sane is walking. So I'm a big walker. I live near the beach. So 3 days in a row, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday just passed. I left the house because I've got asthma. So I'm like super self-isolated. Yeah. And my partner has been going to work every day because he's in an essential field. So we're being very careful about germs and stuff like that and virus transmission. So I got out of the house 3 days in a row last week.
That's awesome. And the beaches are open.
Normal. It felt like, I'm doing what I would normally do on a Sunday morning at low tide when it's above 40 degrees outside. So I was able to find a little space and a little mental place that really conjured up the many, 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 many days before the past 32 days, not that I'm counting, that I've been in the house for the most part. So that's what I've been doing, and the weather hasn't been super conducive always.
No,
the other thing is music. That was going to be one of my suggestions, is listen to music that you love, you guys. It is going to change. It changes your mood. It gets you moving a little bit. Makes you feel feelings, no matter what those feelings are. And it really does make a difference to how you're feeling.
I love that, because I'm such a big podcast listener. So any waking moment that I'm not working, I'm probably listening to a podcast, and I can't anymore. My brain hurts. I'm exhausted, and I just need music. That's a great idea.
Yeah, just a little something else to occupy different part of your brain. So thanks for asking those questions.
Yeah. So this session is very timely. It's about supporting your team and the systems that they use, and really creating and managing virtual teams, which is actually something I know literally nothing about. So I am really excited to learn. So what the first question that I have so many questions. What is your best advice for working from home remotely without completely losing your mind? And I might be asking for a friend in this time, because I've done it for 10 years, but in this time period, it's different.
This is the thing. It is very different. Yeah. I've been working remotely for a dozen years now.
Yep.
And so you and I had a little exchange where we're like, this day to day is sort of the same. There's more of it, but it's not the same. Yeah. It's not the same. And so I think acknowledging that is helpful and will cut the slack for yourself just a little bit. Right now, I think everybody is trying to work from home, but they're not really working from home. They're trying. Some days are better than others.
Yeah.
So I think that the best advice I can give for leaders, let's break this up a little bit. For leaders on the team, you need to check in with your team. You need to find out how they're doing. People who are introverts are super exposed right now because maybe they could sit in a conference room, kind of blend in, take notes, be there. Now everybody's looking at you on screen, and you're expected to be a bigger personality on screen than you really are. So introverts are having a rough time. Extroverts, and I'm kind of both. I love working alone and being alone, but I'm cool with crowds too, like you are. We're isolated and overscheduled right now.
We are overscheduled. That's crazy to think
we're
about.
Isolated. So it's a tough road to hoe. So check in with people and let people do themselves. I've started to say, even to my partner, you do you, okay? You just do you, whatever that is. And it absolves everybody of judgment because we got to keep our eyes on our own stuff right now, even in our neighborhoods and definitely in our work teams. There's a little bit of judging.
Yes.
Should we, shouldn't we, going on. And I think if you're going to drop that bag, right now is a really good time to do that. So I think leaders need to check in. People may not be sharing what's going on that's affecting their workload, affecting their ability to concentrate. Somebody could be sick. They could be, normally they see their mom every week and they haven't been able to do that. Whatever is going on for them. And not everybody works well alone. Some people need the social interaction, the chatter, whatever it is, to actually be good workers. And so nobody's in a place right now where they can work well. So I think it's about balance, and it's about setting reasonable expectations for ourselves and for other people. I'm working with a client right now who this team has never worked remotely before. It's been a very in the office team. They're doing well, other than the fact that the power went out at their office and they could not get into their database last week.
My gosh.
That's another story for another day. But I was on the phone with the executive director and the development director, or on a Zoom meeting, and we were talking about how it's going. And the development director has responded to this moment in time by working on overdrive, overproducing, on at 8, logged off at 9, go, answering emails on the weekend. And the executive director said, I'm trying to model work-life balance here. I'm logging off and I'm going out for a walk for an hour, saying I'm not around. My team is going to burn themselves out. And what I said to her was, your team is not like you. So maybe diving into work is actually good for them right now. You need a break. Let them know they can take one, and they should take them. But if their answer to this, getting through this, is actually blinders on, work is important, and I'm going to focus on that, don't take that away from people, because we're all figuring out our own coping mechanisms, right?
So that leads, yes, absolutely. And, that really leads me into the next question. What are some of the biggest challenges that you've seen nonprofits moving to this virtual Zoom call kind of lifestyle, maybe always on, maybe always not on? So what are some of the biggest challenges, and what are some of your solutions?
Okay, so I think that people are probably struggling with systems that worked well when mostly everybody was in the office, but they're not holding up through distance work. One of the things might be, some people use Gmail and Google Calendar in our organization. Some people use Outlook.
Yes.
The hybrid environment, when you're spread around, you can tolerate that. It's like Macs and PCs, right? You can make that work when everything is working. But when people are kind of, one day they had to grab their stuff and go, for you not to have agreement internally about how we're going to use our work tools, are we going to use Google Drive, or are we going to use OneDrive, or, what's the plan here? And that is a place that I'm seeing people really struggle because it's taking them longer to find stuff. They used to be able to poke their head in somebody's office and say, hey, Mary, where's that report from last?
Yep.
Can't do that now. Yep. So I think having everybody understand what tools you're using for what helps a lot with remote teams. The other thing is that meeting facilitation like this is very different than running a meeting when everybody's sitting in front of you. And you know this really, really well. You have to really be a facilitator, know when to cut off the air hogs,
yes,
and make space for the quiet people so that you can equalize participation. Not everybody knows how to do that.
It's hard. It's really, really tough.
Yeah, the third thing kind of piggybacks on what you were all just talking about around communication and clear communication. Most of us are not naturally clear communicators. We take a roundabout way to get where we're going. And I think it's tiring to be on camera all day. It's tiring to only be using these like senses, ears, if you're on the phone all the time. So making sure that when you end a meeting, everyone's action steps are clear, because a lot of brainstorming may have happened in that meeting and everybody leaves and nobody really knows what the next steps are. So really clear communication with your team.
I love that.
Were you expecting to hear something else? I'm curious, like what would you think is a good ingredient for someone right now?
I would just say being a good listener and just never assuming, like you said. So just because you had a Zoom check-in call at 9 a.m. on Monday and everyone said they were great and gave the thumbs up, if you suspect something, it's like you said, if you suspected someone was having a problem, you used to be able to go in their office, or you could pull them aside, or you go for coffee. And now you really have to be very intentional about checking in with everyone on a one-on-one basis. Almost really, I mean, I do feel badly for managers right now because it's, first of all, you have to do so much work virtually where so much is taken out of context, like a text message or an email. You could completely take the context out of it if you're not doing video calls all the time. And then there's that vulnerability that video calls have, because your house could be complete, utter chaos. Your kids could be running around screaming. You could be just like kind of having a meltdown, but you feel like you have to be on video and you have to show up and you have to be, like you said, have a little bit more of a presence. So even though we're going on, like you said, 32 days, we're going on week 5 here in, Massachusetts, just knowing that these are issues that are not going to go away. Like the dust is not necessarily going to settle because people might get a little more resilient, but these are all issues that we're going to have to be paying attention to. I think
you're right. You're absolutely right. And I think that, if I was going to check in with somebody, I'm a solopreneur right now. So I used to have people report to me for many, many years of my career. And I think that if I was going to have a check-in and my antenna had wiggled, like something's a little off, I might do that by phone. I might actually take the voice out of it so that somebody can walk around there. I'm a walker when I'm on the phone, especially if it's like an emotional conversation, walking around. So
I like that too.
I might really want to not look at you, to tell you like I feel like I'm screwing up, or I'm waiting for so-and-so to give me something that I'm waiting for, and they're 2 weeks late, and I don't know what to do about that. Like, what do I do?
Yeah. What do I do? I have so many questions for you. So one is, how do you get buy-in from all the staff, or how do you really get everybody to unite around a set group of tools and tech?
Well, you got to make agreements, right? We go through life on assumptions, the other A,
right?
And we really need to make agreements about what we're going to do. Yeah. And so it's about having that conversation, talk about it. So listen, guys, for years we've been able to manage with the development team using the C drive in our server and Google Docs and everybody else is using Microsoft. We can't continue like this. It's clear. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
And gather input. If you're the decider,
yep.
you need to be really clear about it's not one vote, one person, if that's not how it's going to go. Not values voting time. I need to take your thoughts into consideration, and then I'm going to make the decision. Some of you will not like it.
That's what RuPaul does on RuPaul's Drag Race.
Gotta be clear. Yeah, I know.
He says, I'm going to take everything into consideration, but the final decision is mine, and you're going to all be on board with it, and you're going to support it.
If that's how it is, that's how it is. Some things you can do one person, one vote.
Right.
But not everything.
Do you have any examples that you can share with us of any kind of system maybe that you've created or someone you're working with that you think is on the right track?
When it comes to working remotely?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or dealing with virtual teams, any of it.
Mm-hmm. So virtual teams, and I do these Facebook Lives. I know that you've been on them with me. I do these Facebook Lives every Friday afternoon at 12:30 Eastern time. I've done a bunch of them recently on remote staff meetings and how do you manage a project remotely, and all of the stuff that you and I and so many of us have been doing for years, that suddenly people want to know how to do it. Right?
Yep.
Suddenly they want to do it. So what I would say is, if you've got everybody's sort of struggling with internal systems issues right now that are preventing them from actually becoming a high functioning team that's distributed. So a couple of things in an hour, I'll give you some tips. In 60 hot minutes, this is what you can do to try to get underneath. The first is, I want you to think about whether you really know what problem you're trying to solve. Because we look at symptoms and we want to make the symptoms go away. My foot hurts. I'm going to take some anti-inflammatories, but really I need new shoes. And that's really what the problem is. So I can anti-inflam all day. It's not going to make the problem really go away. So be really clear about what problem you're trying to solve. Because sometimes you can make it worse if you put a solution in place and it doesn't fix it. That's one. That's 15 minutes. Just think about it for 15 minutes. What's really going on here? Is it communication? Is it collaboration? Is it file storage? Is it methodologies? Is it systems? What's the problem? So that's 15 minutes. 30 minutes, you're going to brainstorm solutions. And you're just going to free flow it. And I get people involved with you. 30 minutes, time and money is no object. Just get the gold out of there. Just get it out of people. And then you decide if we're going to collaboratively vote, or I'm going to decide, or how that's going to happen for the fix. So that's an hour. And don't go for perfection. Like our whole country, our whole humanity mantra right now should be chill out.
Yes, chill out.
Chill out.
Yep.
And when we're stressed, we ratchet up the tension and we ratchet up the stakes. The stakes seem really high. You know what? Try it for 2 weeks. Whatever solution you want to put in place, try it for 2 weeks. Do an assessment. Is this working better for people or not? So I think it's that group problem solving that I would encourage you to bring to the table. In terms of tools, I don't think it really matters. I think whatever is going to meet your requirements and is the easiest and fastest to put in place right now is the one to go for. So big infrastructure, big sophisticated whatevers, now is not the time for that. Now's the time for, what is the problem really? Let me try to fix it.
I love
that. Does that resonate with you, Julia? Or are you, because I know you and I are both planners, so we sort of want to know what's happening so that we can solve it once.
We're planners and problem solvers, and it's a really tough time for us. I know for myself personally, I was saying this yesterday, I'm not a go with the flow. I'm really not a go with the flow person. You can ask my husband. I'd like to know what's coming next. I like to plan. I like to have expectations. And then when everything gets thrown out the window, I always feel like I've failed completely, even though it's not necessarily a reflection on me. It's just it's life. It is what it is.
Mhm.
So that's been challenging for me. But I love that framework where you have an hour. So you've got 15 minutes, half an hour, 15
Otherwise,
minutes.
it turns into like
Yep.
bitching. That's really what happens.
That's
Everybody,
true.
and maybe that's what you need too.
That's
The
true.
other thing, and I don't know if Jen is listening. She's probably trying to get 17 things done right now. But
Yes.
one thing that we always did with our teams is shout outs. And every single week, people thanked and appreciate each other publicly in our staff meetings. And it was one of the best things that we ever did was I'd like to shout out Julia because Julia helped me with X, Y, or Z thing.
I love it.
And it would go, some weeks were a little quieter, but some weeks it was literally almost the whole staff meeting where people were, paying attention to how they had each other's backs.
I love it.
And there's something about that exercise and activity that is team building like nothing I've ever used before. It's just gorgeous. It's gorgeous. I don't know another word for it.
I love that.
So start shout outs.
And I love what you said earlier, because I struggle with this too, about it not being a competition. So we had this, I'm sure people had this when they went into the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes if you've like 3 kids, you think you've got it harder than someone with 2. And then there's someone with no kids, but they might have like an aging parent that they're taking care of. So I do think that, we can rant to ourselves, maybe keep a journal, maybe write an email and don't send it, or talk, rant to your partner or to your pillow or whatever it is. But that sense of, I have it worse than somebody else. And then on the flip side of that, what I've been kind of struggling with is the guilt of feeling that tired and overwhelmed feeling, because I have a job, my husband still has his job, we're all healthy, and we have a house. So then I feel guilty about being tired and overwhelmed. And I feel like I should be doing more because I'm not a frontline worker. I'm not sending my husband off. He's not a doctor, So there's 2 ways to think about it.
It's not helping you, and it's not helping the doctors.
It's just not helping anybody to feel that way. So I think that's a good way of looking at it. If it's not helping, don't do it.
Comparison is the thief of joy. I think I've heard it said many times. Comparison is the thief of joy. So like eyes on your own prize, and prioritize. If you can only get one thing done today, even if there's 100 things you need to do,
do the one.
And then feel good when it's done. But clear communication, check in with your team, pick shared systems, make agreements about that stuff. What else was I going to say?
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to upgrade anything that helps you collaborate or communicate, whether it's internally or externally, is worth the time and money right now. So solve those problems, and the rest of the things will often take care of themselves. I'm watching Seth's.
Yes, I love his comment.
Excellent. Walking meetings for sure. Although walking on the beach, no one would be able to hear me because it's always windy. And then a gratitude channel in Slack for shout outs.
I love that.
If you use Slack, do it right now.
Yep.
Do it right now. It'll make you feel good. It makes you feel good to say nice things about other people. And it makes them feel good. I'm not in the office with you.
Hey Taco. I don't know what Hey Taco is.
You're noticing.
I'm going to look up heytaco.chat. I love in Slack, whenever I've been in Slack with like some teams, having like a meme channel, or having just like, gratitude channel I think is amazing too. But having those specific channels where you're going to feel good when you look at them. It's not going to be overwhelming. It's not going to be like more bad news. As kind of a respite. That's a great idea.
We need to give it to ourselves and each other right now. We really do.
Totally.
So I think small things are big. So that's the other thing. You may roll something out or have news, and maybe it's good news and maybe it's not good news. I saw a bunch of my former coworker friends, not like at my nonprofit from a million years ago. Something happened yesterday. in this organization because everybody's posts on Facebook were about today is a hard day. Today was a really hard day. So I'm holding them in my heart. I don't really know what went down. Maybe they had to furlough people, whatever. So big news is big, but small news can also feel big right now. So if people's reactions to it are out of character, roll with it. Just roll with it. Because again, you don't know what battles someone else is fighting. You don't know what it took for them to get up and log on today.
That's true.
And what's waiting for them when they log off, whatever time that is. So it's about being human right now and being humans like each other. We like each other's company and we work well in groups. And now is a time where small things are going to seem big. The other thing I'll say is if you've got news for your team or news for your boss, you better share it, because if people pick up that there's something in the wind, they are going to tell themselves a story that may have nothing to do with what you really have to say. So please, I'm just begging you, be transparent and be candid and trust your team.
Amazing. I love it. Clear as kind, right, Taylor?
It's all about kindness right now. I literally wrote that down, you know?
Yes, clear as kind. And you've got your leopard print, which I love.
It's like outfit change time. I didn't realize we were doing outfit changes.
That was amazing. And I have to be honest, every time I talk to Maureen, I feel 30,000 times better. Like, I really do.
Thanks.
So thank you.
I am so honored to be invited to this this amazing pool of nonprofit resources.
I need to take a picture.
And if you're a nonprofit person, the last thing I'll say is all of us are throwing a lot of information and resources at you right now. And I've said this to a couple of you that I feel like if a nonprofit was in the ocean, 10 million people would throw a life preserver and kill them.
Yes.
Like, here, I want to help you. So blinders on a little bit. I'm overwhelmed and I swim in these, like, this is one of those things that is super helpful and super wonderful. There's a million of them. We're all trying to help everybody. Filter it out. Sign up and watch the recording later. Like, now might not be the right time for you to take all of this help in because it's overwhelming. It's like a fire hose of love.
Fire hose of love. That's right.
We're going to hashtag fire hose of love right now. That's a thing.
Excellent. I think I've overstayed my time, Taylor.
That's okay.
Oh, because we're so hard on schedules today.
We're 3 minutes over.
There are times, Rach, that I try to follow the rules.
And we're gonna give you the hook in a segment.
The virtual hook.
Denied. Taylor has the power. She can just cut you right out.
Yeah, she can cut me right out. Taylor, anything you want to add before I depart and let you move on with your amazing program? I can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Taylor. No, she's muted herself in too many places.
Yeah,
she's like signed on in the computer. I was signed on 2 computers earlier today.
She's like,
no.
Hold on, guys.
Oh, it's connecting to audio.
There it is. Okay. Connect. Oh, she's like, oh, no.
She's
fixed herself because she was slacking me, being like, Zoom is so much smoother today. It's going to be amazing. I'm like, oh.
It's the Steve Buscemi curse.
She should be back to Buscemi. Hello, kids. Look at her. She's like, wait a minute.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
I almost came on with a mask on today. Actually, I was like, is now?
Because you've got those ones that are nicely made. I have a friend bringing over some leopard print ones.
I have been sewing my own as well. I'm like turning it a little bit crafty over here.
I can't sew at all. So
with a hack so that it buttons down below your nape of your neck. It doesn't kill your ears or the back of your head. So if anybody wants that.
All right.
I'm just making the traditional hooked kind and in different patterns.
I don't know if we're going to get Taylor back.
I will leave it to the MCs.
That's okay.
Sure. I mean, that was really wonderful.
Wishing
And
you
it's just
all
like, yeah, rolling with the punches. That's what we
roll
talked
with it.
about.
That's how you do it. The show must go on. And if anybody wants to ping me and lay some stressy garbage at my feet, I am happy to have free consults with people and give you some
Answer with a
advice.
fire hose of love. You'll answer with an appropriate amount size of love.
Yes.
Hello?
I will try.
Taylor?
Yay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm just so confused at how I'm dialed in.
Just hang on.
You only have a couple hours left. You're
I know,
doing
we're
great.
close.
You're doing great. Oh, and then we've got Ryan and Clay.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Pleasure
amazing.
to
Brian
talk to
and
them.
Claire up next. Okay.
Okay, cool.
All right.
So
Bye,
the
Maureen.
talking
Thank you so
version-
much.
See you soon, guys.
Thank you, Maureen. Thank you, Maureen.